Laravel Vapor creates a vanity domain for every serverless environment you create. That way you can quickly test things with your team. But when you go to production, you will need a custom domain to share your app with the world. And to do that in Vapor, you need to add your custom domain to Vapor, issue a certificate, and then use the domain in your Vapor.yaml file. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the most common questions that I receive around using custom domains in Vapor, and I'm going to answer them with you. So stay tuned. First question, and the most common one, is that do I need to switch from my current DNS provider, say CloudFlare, to Vapor? And the answer is simply no, you don't have to. In fact, in some cases, it's better if you use something like CloudFlare and not Vapor DNS. And I will tell you more about that in just a minute. But first, let me explain to you that whether or not you are going to switch to Vapor as your DNS provider, you still need to add the domain in Vapor dashboard. Because when you do that, Vapor basically creates a hosted zone in AWS. If you are not familiar with what a hosted zone is, it's basically a collection of records that AWS uses to route traffic to different services within AWS, like API Gateway or Application Load Balancer, and Vapor uses both to make your serverless application available to the world. So if your application uses API version 1 or an application load balancer, switching Vapor as your DNS provider means that you do not have to do anything manually on your end. When you issue a TLS certificate in Vapor, Vapor will validate it automatically for you. And when you deploy, Vapor will add the proper DNS records automatically, so your domain points to your Laravel application without you having to do anything. Vapor will do it automatically. But on the other hand, if you are going to use API Gateway version 2, which is way cheaper and much faster, we recommend using CloudFlare as your external DNS provider for your Vapor applications. So when you do that, you can configure CloudFlare to handle the HTTP to HTTPS redirection, because API Gateway version 2 won't do that for you. It won't redirect HTTP traffic to HTTPS. That's when CloudFlare becomes handy. Another question that I receive is, what records do I need to add to my existing DNS provider if I am not using Vapor's DNS management? There are several situations where you need to add or update records in your existing DNS provider. First, when you issue a certificate in your Vapor dashboard, Vapor will show you a CNAME record that you need to add in order for AWS to be able to validate the domain ownership. And second, when you deploy your application, after every deployment, Vapor will show you the DNS records you need to add or update. And keep in mind that switching between API Gateway version 2, API Gateway version 1, or an application load balancer will require you to make changes to the DNS records. So when you make a switch between the three options, or when you deploy your application, or when you issue a TLS certificate, you will need to make changes in your DNS provider's dashboard. Another question I get is, I only want to use a subdomain for my Vapor app. Can I add the subdomain to Vapor, or do I still have to add the root domain? And the answer is that you have to add the root domain. But that doesn't mean that Vapor will make any changes to the root domain. It's just going to create a hosted zone within AWS so we can issue a wildcard certificate that can be used with that domain and all its subdomains. When comparing all the different scenarios, we found that creating a hosted zone for the root domain will help us make the user experience better within Vapor. You can use the root domain, subdomains, or wildcards in your Vapor.yaml file, and Vapor will be able to use a single auto-renewing SSL certificate for all these scenarios. So yes, you need to add the root domain. Last question I have today is, I already have a hosted zone with that name in my AWS account. What happens when I add it to Vapor? And the answer is that Vapor will import the records under this hosted zone in our internal database at Vapor, and we will not make any changes to those existing records. It will only add new records when you request certificates or use the domain or any of its subdomains in your vapor.yaml file. Any other records will remain untouched, so don't worry about it. We will just import it. We will add records or update records based on your deployments and your requests to issue SSL certificates. And there you go. Hope these answers will help you make better decisions when using custom domains in Vapor. And if you have more questions, let us know in the comments section down below or reach out to us on vapor@laravel.com. I will see you in the next video.